Now, this is not about soccer. It's far more important than that. Greece, Spain, Portugal, Ireland, all in trouble. Germany tired of being the banker. Italy worried. Britain sitting, well, a lot of this out, I suppose. What future for Europe? And is it war? Author and columnist Douglas Murray, Associate Director of the Henry Jackson Society, joins us now from London. It does look pretty bleak, doesn't it, Douglas?
Yes, it does. And the fact is, whether it's good news or bad news, it always seems to end up being bad news. The Greek election yesterday went relatively well for those of us who are hoping that things will manage to go in the direction of austerity in Europe. But of course, even the victory of the New Democracy Party in that election isn't great news. It itself had a very small effect on the markets, a very slight bounce in confidence, followed by today another drop in market confidence. So any way this is going at the moment, it's not only extremely hard to predict, but it never seems to be in a very good direction.
Yeah. And Greece is obviously a fairly small economy, but Spain is a sizable economy. Unemployment approaching 25% now. And people in Canada, if they imagine for a moment a quarter of the people being out of work, that's almost beyond comprehension. And I don't see that being reversed in Spain.
No, I mean, just quickly on the Greek matter, yes, it is a small economy, but the fact is that most people realize now that the Eurozone needs some kind of medicine to make it better. And a lot of people had hoped that actually the medicine would be an amputation, that the Greeks would, as it were, voluntarily vote for Christmas, that they would vote for an anti-austerity party, and then the Eurozone could just get rid of them, get them out of the way. There was a school of thinking that thought that was the perhaps only way to sort this out in the short or long term. Well, that now isn't happening. What's going to have to keep on happening now is a constant maintaining of the Eurozone in a constant crisis situation. Of course, now already today, this has knocked on to Spain. And as you say, that's a very different situation. In actual fact, the situation, I think, in Spain, I think the figure that's most worth mentioning isn't the 25% unemployment thing. It's the fact that among the young in Spain, unemployment is now 50%.
Whoa.
Now, when unemployment is that high among the young, you have effectively a social problem and a political problem that is going to be felt very soon, I would argue. You can't have half of young people not having any prospects without that very soon becoming a social issue.
Yes, because Spain is a very polarized country, and it really has been since the Civil War. Even today, if you look at the voting blocks, it's pretty much down the middle. You still, for example, have half the country observant Catholic, the other half often very anti-church. And amongst young people, they don't sit back and then vote for moderate parties. They tend, if history teaches us anything, to vote for the extremes.
Yes, I mean, there is a possibility. Fortunately, it hasn't been seen yet, but it could yet be seen that people went to extreme parties. I think that one of the things that has to be remembered is that in all the countries we're talking about, really, there is a relatively short history of democratic politics. That's certainly the case in Greece, and it is the case in Spain. In most people's lifetimes, Spain was not, of course, a democratic country. So there are all sorts of very scary scenarios down the road, which is why it's so important at this stage that not only the electorates, but the people they elect manage to try to sort out this problem. And it is, as I said at the opening, I mean, it is going to be a constant period of being on the very brink. There, it appears, are no short, sharp, swift answers to this crisis.
Mm-hmm. There was a very, well, it was funny, but I suppose, an incident when Irish soccer fans were chanting, "Angela Merkel thinks we're working." Now, how long till the Germans say, enough is enough, because they're being abused by everyone, even though they're being very generous to most people? Will the Germans ever say, we're not part of this anymore?
Well, the moment when that could have happened was in the last 24 hours. It would have happened perhaps if the Greek election had gone to the Cyprus faction, for instance, in Parliament. If that had have happened, then it's possible that Germany would have finally said enough is enough. But the fact is that Merkel, in particular, is obviously very, very determined to make sure that this does not fall apart. And I think that it's not just Merkel. I think that what has to be remembered about this whole period is that one of the reasons we are in this mess is because it started out as something other than an economic project.
Yeah.
The whole project which we're seeing, not unwinding necessarily at the moment, but certainly being very harshly challenged, was not first and foremost an economic project. It was a political project. And there was an ideological drive behind it, which remains there and remains very strong. Now, some countries, Germany obviously in particular, feel that ideological projects and the strength and the need to hold it together very strongly indeed. Others, including Britain, where I'm sitting now, did not ever feel that drive quite so strongly. And indeed, in the case of Britain, of course, have constantly remained in and out of that project. But that's why this is being defended so very carefully, because this is not just about an economic project. It is an ideological project, and it is one which is coming across a challenge. Now, people are saying, of course, it'll collapse, it'll fall apart, and all that sort of thing. In fact, I come back to this point, I think it'll keep on remaining on this cliff edge for a long time to come, and it's going to be very, very messy indeed. It's just going to stay on this course. We saw it today with rates of borrowing for Spain rising above the 7% level. We're going to see a lot of uncertainty, a lot of volatility, and I think we might just have to get used to it, that that's going to be the norm for a while.
Mm-hmm. God save us from interesting times. Douglas, as always, a great pleasure. Thank you so very much indeed.
Very good to be with you, Michael.